It is an honor and a pleasure to introduce this video providing tribute to Dr. Sundel's impact as a clinician and educator, and to congratulate him for receipt of the American College of Rheumatology Distinguished Fellowship Program Director Award. Dr. Sundel was appointed to the faculty at Boston Children's Hospital in 1989 and as the inaugural director of the rheumatology program there in 1990. Rob's encyclopedic knowledge and his passion for teaching are legendary at Children's Hospital, and he has inspired countless trainees to pursue excellence. Dr. Sundel has served in many formal roles as a member and leader of local and national educational programs, but he's most remembered and admired for his day-to-day interactions as a clinician educator and for his uncompromising dedication to his patients. As recognition of his impact and influence, Rob has received more than a dozen major teaching awards, including the Janeway Award for Excellence in Clinical Teaching, the Clinical Scholar Educator Award from the American College of Rheumatology, the Harvard Medical School Foundation or Faculty Award for Best Clinical Instructor, and the Robert P. Maslin Jr. Award for Excellence in Teaching. Perhaps most notably, however, is his knack for teaching people how to teach. Many pediatric rheumatology fellows trained by Rob have won fellow and faculty teaching and mentoring awards at Boston Children's Hospital and elsewhere. Rob has mentored or precepted, next slide, please. Rob has mentored or precepted literally hundreds of trainees in the Rheumatology Fellowship Program and Pediatric Clinical Immunology and Rheumatology electives. His reputation for excellence routinely attracts top scholars worldwide to the Rheumatology Fellowship, and his list of trainees include many current leaders in the field, all motivated by Rob's wise mentorship and dedication to excellence in education and clinical care. This map shows how Rob's trainees have spread from Boston to lead programs and provide clinical care across North America and around the world. Next slide. It's been over 30 years now since I arrived in Boston to start my research postdoc and train in rheumatology under Rob's guidance at Boston Children's Hospital. Joining the program as one of the inaugural fellows when the program was formally initiated in 1993. I had the great joy to join Rob on the faculty at Boston Children's Hospital after my fellowship and to work with him for more than 20 years before I moved to the University of Colorado. Through all those years and after, I've marveled at the impact he has had on me, his patients, and his fellows, and on the community around him. Dr. Sundel has always been a voice of reason in the face of chaos, and as I've had the opportunity to lead my own teams, I've always striven to emulate his passion and commitment. Rob taught me so many lessons in patient care I could talk all day, but the things that have resonated with me the most over the years have been to have humility in the face of the power of rheumatic disease, to have empathy for the struggles of our children and families we care for, and to approach every patient as a novel puzzle to be considered and carefully assembled. It's been a privilege to work with Dr. Sundel and to learn from him. In honor of his influence on our lives, we've gathered comments from some of the many people he has trained. With that, I'll turn the podium over to Dr. Bryce Bidstadt.
Congratulations, Rob. This is an outstanding honor for an outstanding pediatric rheumatologist. I owe my career to you, and I'm ever thankful. I want to recall a specific memory. When I was a first-year fellow, you and I were sitting in a room with the nephrology team talking about a patient who was very ill in the intensive care unit with catastrophic antiphospholipid syndrome. And you, as always, knew that being aggressive with therapy would be helpful for this patient, and the nephrologists disagreed. It seemed like a Jedi war about to happen. And that's exactly what happened. You, using the force, convinced them to institute aggressive therapy, and we saved that patient's life. And you taught me several things in that interaction. The first is that it's okay to be aggressive with our medications. We truly can save lives, and you taught me not to shy away from doing that. You also taught me to that it was okay to stand up for what we believe in as rheumatologists, and to argue our case and to go to the mat for our patients. And most importantly, you taught me that the force has both a good side and a bad side, and that it's always better to be on the good side of using the force. And so for that, I thank you. Next slide. I have some quotes from some other trainees. Dr. Ezra Cohn at Boston University It says, Rob taught me clinical rigor in a way no one else has. He's absolutely beloved by his patients who are skeptical of anyone else assuming their care. And next, from Dr. Aaron Jansen at the University of Michigan. Observing Dr. Sundel's rapport with patients and ability to solve the mystery of their underlying illness was a great inspiration to me as a resident. It was a huge factor in my decision to become a fellow in his program. As a fellow, I gained an appreciation for the depth of his knowledge and his ability to clearly explain how he came to certain conclusions. He instilled in me an appreciation for the gray zone in rheumatology where we often operate, and how finding objective measures in this zone is key for measuring the success of our treatments. I'll pass it on to Dr. Mary Beth Sun.
So thrilled that Rob Sundel is being recognized for his outstanding teaching and mentoring abilities. There's so many things that I appreciate about Rob. One is his incredible intellect, which has already been referred to. His ability to see through really difficult clinical situations to make sure that we do our best by the patients. He has an inherent goodness about him that I've always found inspiring. And he has a wonderful, wry sense of humor that can really save a tense moment. And like so many of us, I owe my career choice to Rob, and I'll be forever grateful for that, as well as the invaluable lessons that he taught me along the way. And two examples come to mind. Similarly to Bryce, I was helping to take care of a very sick patient in the ICU, and we were trying to figure out what to do. And I always remember that Rob said to me that I had to have courage in my convictions. And so if I really thought that the patient warranted really aggressive treatment, then that's what I needed to do. And I still remind myself to have courage in my convictions in difficult clinical situations. And the other wonderful memory that I have of Rob is that I was doing a research project and collecting testimonials from patients at our center. And one of them had written this really wonderful tribute to Rob and all that he had done for her and how he had impacted her life personally, that he had taken care of her as a patient, but that she felt that he really cared for her as a person. And so I showed it to him and he read it. And the only thing he said to me was, "Can I have this? I want to take it home and show it to my wife." And so his commitment to family was also always present in everything he did. So I'm just so grateful to have been under his tutelage. Next slide. So Siobhan Case is at Boston Children's and Brigham and Women's, as well as at Up to Date. And she wrote that Dr. Sundel taught me how to thoughtfully approach each patient and family with diagnostic curiosity, but more importantly, with humility, compassion, and hope. He brings these same qualities to his work with trainees, and I believe they are a key part of how he has inspired and helped so many doctors and patients alike. Next slide. Pui Lee here at BCH. Rob interviewed me for the residency program, and he asked me what I think is the cause of lupus. I still don't know the answer to that question, but I am certain that Rob has taught me everything I know about rheumatology. Next slide. And from Andy Schulman, who is at Children's Hospital of Orange County. I often describe the experience of being Dr. Sundel's fellow as showing up as a naive apprentice in the hallowed workshop of a master craftsman. My time with Dr. Sundel gave me an up-close and personal look at clinical excellence, passion for the craft of pediatric rheumatology, and commitment to the work of healing. I am grateful and appreciative of my time with Dr. Sundel. Next slide. And I'm very pleased to pass it now over to Dr. Fatma Dedi-Oglu.
Hi, I'm so happy Rob got this award, and I miss him so dearly and so much. When I came to Children's Hospital in 1999, I was kind of an outsider, but he opened his arm fully for me. And I'm just so admiring his ingenious, and I'm gonna spell this because my pronunciation may be wrong, ingenious. It's just so incredible because he would make you to come up with the answers, and it would look like, it feels like you know it, even though he's teaching you at that moment, and for everyone else. And a couple of things I want to talk about that for example, my first year, he asked me to let's just write a proposal, apply an IRB and so on. And I realized years later that he was preparing me to be able to do these kind of stuffs from that year. And his And knowledge his English is so good that he would correct my notes. And I thought that he would do it only for me, but I realized he was doing to other fellows too, native English speakers. And when I wrote the review on drug-induced autoimmunity, and he came to me and he told me that this is the best review I've ever read, and that made me so proud to be his student. And his dedication is just so much. Like I can tell you, one day, we're doing a fellow clinic. He was precepting me, and then all of a sudden he wasn't around to be found. Like, where is he? Where is he? And then at that day, actually, he was having his baby, the fourth baby, and he somehow found a way to be by his wife's side, and then also didn't cancel fellow clinic because it was so important for me to learn, and so on. And then the other thing that I want to mention about his teaching, when I first become an attending, obviously I was nervous. I didn't know how much I know. And I would always go and ask him. And then I made this habit, or we had this meeting every Friday afternoons. And I would sit down with my questions to him. And then each time I would just say, Rob, I'm so sorry. I'm taking your time. I'm so sorry. And he would always tell me, if you don't come and ask me, I would be worried. So like it made me so, I think I learned a lot from him. He's just the most incredible teacher, very good with patients, like they just love him. And I learned a lot how to take care of very difficult patients from him. And with a sense of humor too, as everyone knows. This is the last thing I'm going to tell. I have so many things, like the lollipops that he would give me at the end of a clinic, because Monday clinics always run to 7, and then he would give me 2 lollipops so that I could bring one to my son at home. And then the first year of my fellowship, I was coming out of residency. Whenever there's a code, I would try to run, like that is just a knee-jerk reaction. And he was just like, Fatma, go, we run the other way, so that we are not in the way of people who can take care of that. So next slide. So I'm gonna read Elizabeth Ang's, Liz Ang's quote. She's now in Singapore, and I love working with her, and we had very good time together. We learned together from Rob too. She says, it has been a little over 10 years since I did my fellowship under Dr. Sundel, and even today, something will happen in the course of my clinical practice that reminds me of and makes me marvel at how much he knew. His brain is full of knowledge that is ready at his fingertips. He knew exactly how much and what to communicate to patients. He peppered that with witty statements delivered deadpan. Sometimes I was embarrassed to be the first one laughing out loud, but I couldn't help it. I appreciate his sense of humor. Next. And Irit, again, we had so many good memories with her. She's in Israel, Sheba Medical Center. He who cares for days sows wheat. He who cares for years plants trees. He who cares for generations educates people. Jancis Korzak. Dr. Sundel, thank you so much for educating and mentoring me and so many others.
So I trained with Dr. Sundel and was privileged to work with him for nearly 13 years before moving to San Francisco in 2016. Dr. Sundel was my mentor and teacher right from the start. The memory I have of him was my first meeting with him during my fellowship interview. Literally within the hour of our first meeting, during my interview, which is supposed to be high stress for the poor interviewee, I remember him teaching me and me learning more about systemic JA and macrophage activation syndrome and how important ferritin was at the time to monitor that. And it was from that moment on, my learning journey with Dr. Sundel proved to be really rigorous and delightful. He really has had this unwavering commitment to teaching and patient care that's really unparalleled. Even during our many midnight ED consults together in the ER, we saw that passion really shine through. Thanks for all that you've taught us, Dr. Sundel. You truly deserve this honor and are truly one in a million. Thanks. Next slide, please. This lovely quote from Lauren Henderson, who's at Boston Children's Hospital, says, "More than anyone else in my training, Dr. Sundel taught me what it means to be a physician and how to care for patients." Dr. Sundel, thank you. And Heather Torrey, who is at Connecticut Children's Medical Center, said, "Dr. Sundel has been an incredible teacher and supporter to me in my career. Throughout my fellowship, he was unfailingly supportive in the somewhat unique path of my fellowship track. So many of his teaching pearls continue to guide my daily practice. Most importantly, his emphasis on the attention to detail and meticulous history taking and physical examination. These are the lessons that I, in turn, will work to pass along to the learners I work with, exponentially expanding his impact on the care of children with rheumatic diseases across the country." Great. Next slide, please. I'd like to introduce Peter Nigrovich, who's at Boston Children's Hospital, who will be speaking next.
Thank you, Susan. Like so many of the people here, I owe my career to Rob Sundel. When I was a third-year med-peds resident, wondering whether I should go into primary care or nephrology or something else, Rob Sundel took me aside and said, "Have you considered rheumatology?" And that really made my decision, the idea that someone was welcoming me into a training course. And ever since then, he's been a role model for me, especially as a clinician. He is singularly the greatest diagnostician I've ever known. He has a remarkable knack of taking a bewilderingly complex patient and breaking it down and saying, okay, these are the three possibilities, and these are how we tell which one of them it is. So it's a real knack that he has that I've very rarely seen in other diagnosticians, and nobody better than Rob. And for this reason, he's single-handedly the reason that, at least at Boston Children's Hospital, when there's a child that's in real trouble, where nobody knows what's going on, they call rheumatology. And that is really because they mean to be calling Rob, because he's done so much for so many people. In doing this, he is aided not only by just an absolutely prodigious fund of knowledge across rheumatology, but also other specialties, but also true mastery of the physical examination. I think all of us have had this experience of watching him examine a patient, or watching him, even more mortifyingly, watching him examine a patient after we'd already examined that same patient and showing us the things that we had missed on the initial evaluation. And his techniques guide me now. And so whenever I now examine a patient, when I lay my hands on the patient, I see Rob's hands. You could have next slide, please. Dr. Maggie Chang at Boston Children's Hospital noted, "The most valuable lessons that I learned from Rob were how to establish trust with families and colleagues, how to offer reassurance and support, and most importantly, how to bring humor to work each day." Next. Dr. Mia Chandler at Boston Children's Hospital. Dr. Sundel has a thoughtful, holistic approach to each patient. It's been such a privilege to be among those who have received direct encouragement from him. I'm inspired by his decades-long example of pursuing excellence and mastery as a clinician. Next slide. Dr. Arturo Berzutsky, who is now in Santiago, Chile, where he leads the rheumatology and immunology program there. Rob was for me an exceptional clinical mentor. Of all my teachers, he probably had the deepest impact on how I practice clinical medicine in general and pediatric rheumatology in particular. To this very date, 14 years after completing fellowship, many times I find myself wondering what Rob Sundel would do in any given patient situation. Next. And with that, I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Mindy Lowe, who has been our coordinator through this whole episode of honoring Dr. Sundel. Mindy, please.
Hi, thanks. So I have the honor of closing this out. As I inherited Rob's role as fellowship director a few years ago, definitely very big shoes to fill, which I hope we've all impressed upon you today. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the specifics of Rob's teaching style. So I still remember as a first year fellow, seeing a very complicated patient, how he had me break things down. So he told me to create a problem list, right? All of the problems that this patient has, and then pick the most unusual, the most unique problem on this list, and then start building your differential diagnosis from there. And for me, it was revolutionary, right? We didn't talk about adult learning styles back then. We didn't talk about critical thinking skills. Literally, my medical education to that point had been memorization. So Rob, I credit fully for teaching me how to think. And then second was he always went back to the literature. So I remember pretty much after every single clinic session, he would send me an email with the paper to read. And I didn't always read those papers, I'll be honest, but it really helped me hone in on the fact that staying up to date on the literature was so important, and just that ever constant process of learning was so important. And then another major part of his teaching philosophy, though, was based on modeling, right? So this is how I do it, and with the implication that this is how you should do it too. But that's not easy for all of us, right? Like, we can't all be like Rob. We can't all cite studies off the top of our head or make jokes at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're getting that ED consult. And it's especially, we cannot all talk to fibromyalgia patients the way that he did. He always knew exactly what that family needed to hear to understand the diagnosis and to be able to move forward. And it was always incredible to me how he did that. So we can't always be like Rob, but we always try, right? We always try to live up to that expectation. And even now, just as Arturo said, when faced with a complicated patient or complicated situation, I think, what would Rob do, right? And in particular, one thing that he has really helped me carry forward in my own philosophy is what to do with these patients that we don't know if we can help them. So maybe they're super complicated and have been sick for a long time. Maybe they're pain patients. I would say a lot of these patients are pain patients. Maybe the parents are very difficult, or maybe just everybody's already given up. And sometimes I would say to Rob, what are we doing here? How can we be helpful to this family? And his response was always, every patient deserves at least one good doctor. So that should be you. So now that's what I do every day. That's my goal when I go to clinic, is I try to be that one good doctor. So I wanted to close out on this last photo of Rob surrounded by some of the faces that you've met today. I hope you've learned a little bit about what makes Rob so great and how we all, I think really all of us, credit our careers to him. So thank you, Rob.